Hello, everyone. Just a second. Hello, Hegrisson. Hello, Adriana. We are here directly from our YouTube channel, and I'm going to introduce our lecture today. Welcome to our program Consciousness in Evolution, and we are live from YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook page, Reaprendência International. Our program, Consciousness in Evolution, is a program from Reaprendência International that enables access to information about self-re-education, parapsychism, out-of-body experience, and bioenergies, and also much more, many other subjects related to self-evolution. In today's webinar, we have two very special guests. They are friends and instructors of Conscientiology. They are Hegrisson Alves and Adriana Rocha, who are going to talk about ethics and morals and how do they relate to Cosmoethics. Please feel free to send us your questions. Any questions that aren't answered live will be posted later on in the comment section. And if you want to know more about parapsychic phenomena and evolution of consciousness, subscribe in our channel. Instructor Hegrisson Alves is graduated in languages and has a master in sociolinguistics. He was born in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and has been a volunteer of Conscientiology since 1996. Currently, he is a volunteer at the consciocentric institution Cosmo Ethics, that is specialized in cosmoethics. And we also have instructor Adriana Rocha, who is graduated in law and has a master, a doctorate, and a post-doctorate in law and education. She was born in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and has been a volunteer of Conscientiology since 1996. And also, she is a volunteer at Cosmo Ethics. So, welcome, Hegrisson, and welcome, Adriana. Hegrisson, the word is yours, and then Adriana can introduce herself.
Hello, this is Hegrisson speaking. I'm really happy to be here sharing and debating with you things to do with conscientiology.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Eliane. Thanks a lot for the invitation. I would like to thank Reaprendência for the opportunity to share our research, our experience, our knowledge about cosmoethics, and also para-pedagogical in cosmoethics, because both on speciality are related, right?
Yes, sure. And we are eager to know about it because it's a very important subject in our evolution. And people usually make some confusion. What is ethics? What is moral? What cosmoethics has to do with that? And how can we really go deep in developing our self cosmoethics? That's the great point. So you
Perfect.
may start at any time and share your slides. Feel free.
Uh, Here we go. Can you see it? Can
Not
you
yet.
see
Yes.
it? Yes? Good.
Yes, we are seeing it very, very good.
Okay, thank you very much, Eliane, for sharing, for letting us share a little bit of our knowledge. The idea is to make an introduction to the concept of cosmoethics, okay? So, first of all, we have to say that we use the principle of disbelief all the time, okay? So the idea is don't believe in anything, not even in what is informed here. Experiment, have your own experiences. And as we say at Cosmoethics, and reflect upon the experiences you have, okay? You'll understand the idea of reflecting on the experiences as we go along the talk, okay? Uh, the very first thing is, what is the very basic of conscientiology? So we can ask the question, what makes conscientiology conscientiology? That's a very important question, okay? So the idea of conscientiology is the study of consciousness. But consciousness is a very complex entity because we don't know exactly what consciousness is. We I am a consciousness, right? And in this life, I am. My name is Hegrisson, right? But as a consciousness, we live many lives. So it's a very complex entity, this consciousness. That's why we say that conscientiology studies consciousness as a very complex entity. So we can ask ourselves, what help us understand its complexity? As it's very complex, so we have to try to understand it. And what can we do to understand it? Well, what really helps us to understand is the consciential paradigm. Paradigm is a kind of a model of reference. So, why does it happen in this way? Because this consciential paradigm, okay, it shows us how consciousness, how we really manifests, okay, we manifest ourselves or consciousness itself in its complexity. So through the consciential paradigm, we can understand really how we manifest. Okay, for example, we know that we have lived different lives in the past, and we'll certainly live different lives in the future. We know that we manifest ourselves in different dimensions. Okay, not only this interphysical dimension, but also in extraphysical dimensions. We know that we manifest ourselves through different somas. So we have the body and we have other somas, okay? Psychosoma, mental soma, and so on and so forth. Okay, we have the energetic soma. And we also use bioenergy for our manifestation. And we are able, according to conscientiology, to make some self-research, to understand, to analyze, to study. I am able to analyze, study myself. So I am the researcher, I am the object of research, and I'm also the laboratory. And we also have the concept of thought scene. So our manifestation is through our thoughts, our feelings, and our energy. Okay? That's why we say this is a very complex entity. This knowledge will certainly help us think about our behavior, the way we behave, the way we act, okay, the way we manifest. Now, think about and behavior have everything to do with ethics and morals. Again, would like to carry on talking about ethics and morals?
Yes, I would like only to reinforce that you said about the consciential paradigm, that the self-research is essential to understand the dilemmas and the conflicts that we will be when we begin and we develop the study about cosmoethics, because cosmoethics will help us to solution and to understand the moral conflicts and the dilemmas that we have in our day life and also in the world to understand what it happens. And the
Okay.
self-research will help us to improve this research about moral and cosmoethics, first of all, because we're going to have, you will say that, right? We're going to have some direction, some rules, and some principles that will help us to solution that conflict that we have every day. That thing that we ask for ourselves. I don't know if I go that way or that way. What I'm gonna do?
It's
I know
really
I know
important.
yes, I know the consciential paradigm, but I don't know what to do about these things. Yeah, right?
Yeah. Yes, I think nowadays we have it. We live in times of great dilemmas, political, ideological, and and also regarding health. what is the best way to behave regarding health? Do we take vaccine or not? What? So it's a very complex time to talk about ethics, morals, and cosmoethics. So
Mhm.
let's go.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
So the first two concepts that are very important to help us understand, right, what cosmoethics is the difference between ethics and morals. These two topics, these two concepts, they are in our everyday lives. Okay, so we see these concepts every day, and there's been quite a confusion about the two. So the idea here is to clarify and to define what we understand by ethics and what we understand by morals. Okay, so morals. If we take a look at the following images, right, we'll see in fact, two different behaviors. Okay, these two. In picture number one, right, we have probably a man pickpocketing, right, taking money, stealing money out of the pocket of someone. And in the second picture, we have it seems to be a young woman helping an old lady, right, to cross the street. So we have two different behaviors. The word behavior or conduct is a very important one to understand ethics and morals. So uh, what we can say is that the conduct number two, which is the lady, the young right woman helping the old lady cross the street, is socially accepted, right? And conduct number one is not the pickpocketing. So, and then we can ask ourselves, what makes people act in such a way? These two different ways. So, what makes them act in this way? One pickpocketing and the other one is helping an old lady. So, what we say is that our conducts, our behaviors, they are motivated by beliefs, values, principles, and rules. And these variables, they are acquired through friends along our lives, right? Since we were born, family, relatives, religion, laws, society, school, and so on and so forth. So even if you were not aware of your beliefs, values, principles, and rules, they are there and they are motivating what you do. So probably what the two people were doing is based on beliefs, values, and principles they have. Okay. So what we say is that morals is what people do. So what is morals is what people do. Our behavior, our manifestation, our conduct, our actions, our attitudes. Of course, these things, they are based on our beliefs, values, principles, and rules. So if you were to have an image, right, to represent morals, we would say it's something like this. On the top of this iceberg, on the left, we have the conducts, the behavior, and on the bottom or the bulk, right, of this iceberg, or underneath, we have the beliefs, values, principles, rules, motivating our actions, our conduct, and we're talking about morals. So we're talking about the interphysical world. Okay. So when people stop to think about why they did what they did, why they do what they do, this is ethics. So ethics is a branch of philosophy, we can say that, dedicated to reflecting on morals. So in short, we say that ethics is when you stop to think about what you do and why you do what you do. So if we're those two, the guy pickpocketing and the other one helping the old lady, they stop to think about their actions. If they stop to think about their actions, they would be doing some ethics. They would be working on ethics, reflecting. And their actions, their behavior, their manifestation would be the morals, right? So moral is a group of values, beliefs, principles and rules we use in our everyday lives. Now, what about cosmoethics? Well, the same way, right? We have cosmoethics, the concept, and we have cosmic morals. Uh, the following images, again, will show us 4 different behaviors, and this is very important. Now, in picture number 1, we have what we call tertulia. This is another one where we have Professor Valdo Vieira teaching. He was teaching a lesson, probably talking about a verbete. And people are watching, people are observing, people are learning, people are writing down their ideas, are taking notes. That's the behavior we see there, right? In picture number 2, we have probably a person grieving for the loss of someone or grieving for the death of someone, right? And we see that there is a helper, an invisible, almost invisible helper trying to comfort him, right? In picture number 3, we have probably a heavy smoker, a person who smokes probably, I don't know, 3-4 packages a day. And in picture number 3, we see that there's an intruder, right? Take advantage of the smoke that the guy is exhaling, right? Exhaling. And in picture number 4, we have a guy studying, a young man studying, right? And being helped by probably an interstitial helper. So again, we can ask ourselves, what makes people act in such a way? So what makes people act in number 1, being there in a tertulia, right? The number 2, the guy who's grieving. Number 3, the one who's smoking. And number 4, the one who is studying. So what makes them act in this way? Again, we have beliefs, we have values, principles, and rules motivating, right, these actions, these behaviors. And these beliefs, values, principles, and rules were acquired through what? Friends, again, family, relatives, religion or not, laws, society, and school. But now we have other varieties. We have intermissive, right? Intermissive course. Most of us who follow conscientiology have taken, right? While we were in the intermissive period from one life to another, we have our whole biography, right? Everything we've done so far in our different lives have strong influence in our beliefs, values, principles, and rules. And we also have the conscientiology study, what we've been studying, what we've been learning, and putting into practice. That's the idea. So, different from ethics, now our references, because now our references are based on the consciential paradigm. Remember the consciential paradigm, where we talked about, when we talked about the different ways we behave, we manifest, different lives, different dimensions, different somas, bodies, bioenergy, thought seeing, thought, sentiments, and energy. Now, our references change the way we interpret life because now it's a little bit different, not a little bit, really different. So, therefore, because of this, the basis of our moral life are no longer the same as before. So, this is what we have shown you before, right? We use this image of the iceberg with the bottom, right, or the underneath or the submerged part of the iceberg, and representing beliefs, values, principles, rules related again to physical world. Now, the iceberg has become, of course, because of the consensual paradigm, a lot bigger and a little bit more complex. So this is what we see. If you take a look at the top of the iceberg, you see that how much the part below the surface, right, has grown. So as you can see, this has become very, very complex. because now we have other variables to take into consideration, right? Would you like to say?
I have some a question for you, Hegrisson. It's my question, okay? Sorry. Because you were talking that morals is social. So every social or culture, different cultures will have different morals, more or
Yes,
less. There is
yes,
a human moral, a
see,
human
yes,
society, and moral is more. Now, I believe moral is more globalized nowadays. We can say that things that what is good everywhere. For example, being polite, having empathy, think about the other. It's more globalized, but there
mhm,
are cultures, however, that are a little bit different,
yes,
and mainly some religious cultures that in which the moral is based on religious rules, for example,
mhm,
right? So this varies. But what comes to my mind is whenever we go out and we change, we do the paradigmatic interchange, and we get to know the consciential paradigm. Our vision is broader, and so our responsibility is also broader.
mhm,
Can you comment on that, if you
yeah.
agree or not?
Yeah, you're quite right. The idea of saying that it was socially accepted, this one here, I think it's, yeah. The idea is that normally, right, in societies, we have this common sense that it's not a very good idea pickpocketing, and it's a very good idea helping people. But socially is one of the variables we use to analyze what morals is. But you're quite right. Depending on the group, depending on the country, depending on the time along history, right? Morals changes. Morals changes. They're different. Well, if we see nowadays, if we go to different parts of the world nowadays, we have common things. For example, killing another person is not accepted anywhere, basically. I mean, not anywhere. There are places
Basically.
where, yeah, there are places it is accepted, as for example, a death penalty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you have a country where death penalty is possible, is legal, then killing another person is possible. But the idea is that socially, so to be socially speaking, is one of the variables. We have to take into consideration others. But you're quite right. This is to show us how limited interphysical morals is. So when we talk about cosmic, we were talking about cosmic morals. It's broader, much more it expands our ideas, so we can understand more how humans they behave. So the idea is that you're quite right. Morals has to do with groups, has to do with geography, has to do with time, right? So it varies a lot, but ethics continues being the same, which is reflecting about what we do, reflecting upon what we do. So even if there is a place where assassination, right, killing is allowed, if a person stops to think about the consequences, the person can change, right? So that's the idea of the ethics, is to make us think about what's right and what's wrong. Okay, Adriana?
And just one thing about ethics. Ethics. We are not talking about a consensual paradigm yet, right? Ethics is reflects about our behavior and also try to understand why some group or people or some person do and act like some way, in that way. Why the behavior of I don't know, United States, Europe, Brazil is in one way and why is different in another way. Ethics as a science, as a physical science, physical, I mean intraphysical science, try to understand and explain why some groups act in one direction and why someone act or think in different way, right? And to understand this, it's important to know, to be aware about our principles, or the principle that that group, né, think that it's right, the values, etc. Hegrisson had some slides over there. Yeah? This
What I
is
would like,
ethics.
yeah, what I
Yes.
would like to call your attention is that, remember, this is the base, we could say, right, of the iceberg. When we think about interphysical morals, and this is the bulk, the base of the iceberg when we think about cosmic morals. So as you can see, it's much, much, much more complex than the interphysical one. Why? That's the question. So if we think of have the variable, if you think about the variables, they have to change somehow. So beliefs will have to become what we call self-verpons. Why? Because now we are using the consciential paradigm. Remember the reference in which we study different lives, different dimensions, different bodies, bioenergy, self-research, forcing, and so on and so forth. So we have to experience, we have to have our own experiments. That's why the principle of disbelief, to come to our own conclusions about verpons. So when you put into practice a verpon and you come to your own conclusion about that and you start living by it, so then it becomes a self-verpon. And then you stop believing to be more rational. That's the point. Values, they stop being into physical values to become evolutionary values. So we stop having values that help us, right, maximize our evolution. And this is very important. Different. There's a very important difference here. Principles, they stop being interphysical principles to be cosmoethical principles. So the principles we start using, they are much more complex again. One of the principles we use all the time is the principle of disbelief. If you apply the principle of disbelief in everything you do in life every day, for example, instead of spreading fake news, you would never do this because you have to use your principle of disbelief. You have to stop, analyze, think, be critical, come to your own conclusion about something. So you wouldn't pass on a message just because you received it. And rules, they stop being rules we use in everyday life to useful rules. So rules that you can use to help you maximize again, okay, optimize your evolution in many ways. So the idea is this: cosmic morals is what you do, your behaviors. But now these behaviors, these conducts, they have to be motivated by self-response, evolutionary values, and cosmoethical principles and useful rules. So things changed a lot from these to these here. Okay, and we can sort of sum up here the idea is behavior. It's our behavior guided by our self-response, evolutionary values, cosmoethic principles, useful rules, based on the pillars of the consensual paradigm, which are the ones we can see down here. So everything you do now in life, you have to think twice till you get it incorporated into your everyday life. For example, if you stop and analyze yourself every time you do something, for example, what we call a reflection for an action, right? Before an action, reflection after an action. If you reflect upon something you have just done to see whether you were right or wrong, so this will help you sort of know yourself better, right? So that you can avoid certain consequences. So this is the idea of cosmic morals. And then what cosmoethics is, and that's the definition we have from Professor Waldo in 700 experiments. Cosmoethics is the ethics or reflection upon the cosmic moral, which defines whole maturity situated beyond social, interphysical moral. So this concept is really important to understand it, and you can only understand
Excellent.
it when you understand ethics and morals. Okay,
Can
yeah,
you come back one slide, please?
yeah.
Just because that reminds me something.
This
That
one,
cosmic, yeah,
this one.
can be that one, can be that one. The cosmic morals is different from the concept of universal morals that the law and usually the ethics talk about it. Because we have universal morals, universal behaviors that we think it's right to do. For example, do not kill. You have to preserve the environment. It's a good behavior if you respect the other people. That international declarations nowadays we try to protect, but we have to remember that that international declaration it's intraphysical. They don't consider the consciential paradigm. So when we say cosmic morals, we are in the consciential paradigm. Even when we say universal morals, we are thinking about that pillars, that paradigm.
Mhm.
It's not the same that the law protect and the universal declarations protect. That their protections, it's a beginning trying to approach of cosmoethics and paralaw, etc. Right?
Can you let explain again this in this slide? Behavior guided by our SVEVCP. Can you say this
Yeah,
acronym again, please?
yeah. The idea is here, right? Self. If you take a look
Self-report.
at self
Okay.
repose, this is the SV,
Okay.
evolutionary values EV. CP is cosmoethical principles. U are useful rules. Because the idea is that self-repose is a very, very important one. Even in conscientiology, most of us still have some beliefs. A belief is when you believe in something, but you do not use your reasoning. You do not reason. You do not analyze it critically. So the idea is that we have a tool, right, at Cosmo Ethics in our courses, which is called self-reflection, critical self, no, cosmoethic, critical self-reflection. I'm saying it for the first time in English, so I have to think about the order here, right? Cosmoethic, uh, cosmoethic, critical, right? Self-reflection, which is we have to self-reflect all the time about everything we do.
But Hegrisson, when I agree with you. We have to think about everything. We want to improve our behaviors. We want to be better. But why just the micro minority is worried with cosmoethics? Have you?
Yeah,
Is it so?
Yeah,
It's
this
a
is a
micro
reality.
minority.
same here. Yeah,
Unfortunately,
yeah,
it's so good to think about that, to see that we can improve through that reflection and change of act. But do you
yeah.
have any comment on Adriana, and also that you are a lawyer, you see many situations that we are not used in our everyday life. Why do you guys think that's just a micro minority worried
Adriana.
about it?
The short answer is that the majority don't reflect about anything. They react, if you can say like this, they react from social life, lives or family rules, costumes, values. They don't think about it, right? And we have a more complex answer when we think about consciential paradigm, right? If we think about evolutionary scale, right? Is that we have
Mhm.
how do you say precedent in English?
Preserenissimus.
Yeah.
Precedenissimus and the Serenissimus. We are far from the Serenissimus behavior, right? And the
Yes.
majority is like this,
I
if
think
you
the
think about it.
evolutionary scale is good for people to know. If you guys that are watching us don't know, I invite you to download our glossary of essential conscientiology terms. We have a definition of evolutionary scale of the consciousness, and that can help. And I have a question here
But
from
let me let
Anna.
me comment. Let me add some comments on what
Oh,
Adriana
yes,
just
please.
said.
Yes, please.
Because one of the factors is inevitably, right, the problem, not the problem, the solution of reurbanization. Of course, we have lots of, according to Professor Valdo, right, in Lexo de Pensatas, the reurbanized consciousness is born every minute. So every minute. Now you stop in an hour. We have 60, right, reurbanized consciousness. So if you stop to think about that, you see that the number of people who do not stop to think about what they are doing is really large, really, really enormous, immense, huge. So it's just a minority of people who really would stop, think, and there is something really important when we continue showing those slides. We have to not only think about, because people can think, oh, so cosmoethics is just about thinking. No, it's about thinking to know where you are and what actions you should take. Because if you do not re-educate yourself, if you do not recycle your trait, for example, it's not enough because the cycle of cosmoethics is not complete. You have to know what you're doing. You have a reference. That's why we talked about the pillars of the consensual paradigm. And these pillars, they show you the direction. If you're going in the opposite direction, for example, you understand the cosmoethics, so you're living in the world of the ideas, right? Because then lots of philosophers, they love philosophy, how do you say that in English? Philosophizing, yeah? Can you say that in English?
Philosophizing.
Yeah, they love working on philosophy all the time, right? They love being on the world of ideas. But the idea of theories, the theories, which is the theory and practice, we have to put into practice what we've learned. So if you see that there is something wrong with you, for example, if you see a verpon, if you understand a verpon and do not put into practice, so this is not cosmoethics. This is how to say that, Adriana? Self-corruption. This is
Self-corruption.
self-corruption because you know the idea, you know the concept, you know how to get there, but you do nothing to change. So this is self-corruption, which is the opposite of cosmoethics.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
sorry.
that's the great point that we
Yeah,
learn something new and better and change our behavior.
yeah,
Well, I have a question. Can I ask you now? It's
yes.
from Anna Yogan, who's watching us. Anna is from Miami, USA. And she's saying the slide used for cosmic morals is the same used for cultural intelligence. How would you introduce the evolutionary intelligence to this concept?
Very good question. Thank you. Very good question. In fact, which evolutionary intelligence, right, is the main instrument that will help us change from beliefs, values, principles, and rules to this. Without evolutionary intelligence, we are not able to change, to increase, to evolve, right? Because you cannot go from belief. Remember, belief is just you believe in something, right? And remember the very first principle we used here, which is the principle of disbelief. So when you start putting it into practice, you will also criticize a verpon. You will also think about a verpon, reflect upon a verpon to see if it makes sense to you. Then you have to apply it. Once you've applied it and it makes sense to you, then it will become a verpon, a self-verpon.
Let me just clarify something to our viewers. That is, verpon is a neologism of conscientiology that is leading edge relative truth.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah,
We use the word, the neologism verpon.
verpon. So, for example, we have this evolutionary intelligence you have just mentioned is a verpon, because this idea of evolutionary intelligence only exists in conscientiology. We have multiple intelligences: so emotional intelligence, intra-consciential intelligence, linguistic intelligence, mathematical intelligence, musical intelligence. These are modes of intelligence we have in the interphysical world. Now, when you talk about evolutionary intelligence, well, that's beyond interphysical paradigm. That has something to do with consensual paradigm. So this is when you start understanding the pillars of the consensual paradigm. Oh, we have other lives. We had other lives in the past. You're going to have other lives in the future. Oh, we manifest in different dimensions. Oh, we use different bodies to manifest ourselves. Oh, we also manifest through bioenergies. So we have forcing. Oh, we can self-research ourselves. So this is possible because of evolutionary intelligence. Okay. Now,
And
just
also, Hegrisson,
say it. Say
and
it. Yes.
also we have some reference to help us to understand and to help us to answer our dilemmas, our cosmoethical dilemmas, to know if we are acting in that way of the paradigm or no, we are far from the consciential paradigm.
Yeah.
In Cosmoethics, we help the students to understand and improve how in our days lives we answer our dilemmas and using that evolutionary intelligence. We have some reference that cosmoethical principles, evolutionary values, rules, and we help them to apply that reference in their dilemmas in their life. Yeah.
Do you
Right,
have
Helen?
individual sessions, or is it that a course or a group discussion? How does that work in Cosmoethos? Can you talk a little bit, if you can? It's
Yes.
interesting that our viewers know.
Would you like to talk, Harrison? Can I answer? We have our modular
Yeah.
lections.
Yeah. We have a sixth module. In fact, it's a four now. This year is going to be a four module course, right? A course in four different modules. And the idea is the name of the course is, let me say it in English for the first time. Let's see if I can. It's evolution by using the how to
Self
say
self
scrutiny.
mega cosmoethical.
But esquadrinhamento. How do you say esquadrinhamento in English? I know how to say that in English.
I don't know. I have to.
No, scrutinity. Scrutinity is the word, but esquadrinhamento means the scrutinity of our self mega cosmoethics. That's the idea, right? Because there is a concept Professor Val introduced, which is mega cosmoethics. So, what is the mega cosmoethics? Mega cosmoethics is when you pay attention to little details of your daily life. It's very simple. The name is very complex, but then you start thinking, you start analyzing, and then you see Professor Valdo presenting, and you see, that's the idea. Because it says that cosmoethics is in the details. When you are aware of it, and when you start reflecting upon these behaviors you have every day. Why? By analyzing, by criticizing, by reflecting upon your behavior, you will be able to reach who you really are. You will be able to reach what motivates your behavior. So when we talked about this, and you asked me to say it again, SVEVCPUR. These are the variables which motivate our behaviors. Remember, cosmic model is behavior guided by, is the way we behave. We act every day. And these actions, they are motivated by something. We who study conscientiology and we understand and put into practice the consensual paradigms here, the pillars of the consensual paradigm, right? We are using self-response, we are using evolutionary values. For example, a family is a value, money is a value, but money is not an evolutionary value. Money is a value, a very important value, because we have to do courses, we have to live, right? We have to travel, we have to do
Take
lots of
care of
things.
health.
Yeah, we have to take care of our health, so we need the money. So money is a value, but not an evolutionary value, because you're not going to take it when you die. So evolutionary value are the ones you probably continue using, right? And benefiting from when you pass, when you die. Okay. So that's the idea. But remember, what cosmetic is, then we said, that's the definition we have in the 700 experiments. Now, cosmoethics is to reflect upon what we do in our daily life. Remember, do taking into account, right, self-response, evolutionary value, cosmoethic principles, useful rules, which are based on the pillars of the consensual paradigm. That's the reference we need, and which makes all the difference, right? When you stop, I'm not going to do this, because if I do this, I'm going to create an into prison with this person. I don't want to do this. I want to have a good relationship with the other. So this is cosmoethics. When you stop, for example, if the person, if the guy who is, if this war, right? If people knew a little bit more about cosmoethics, you wouldn't have a war in the world nowadays, right? Ukraine and Russia. Now, cosmoethics is a
Hegrisson,
continuous process of
I
self.
think we have I
Just to
think
finish this
we have
idea,
some questions, no?
yeah, just to finish this idea here, cosmoethics is a continuous process of self re-education, continuous process of self re-education. But if there is no interphysical recycling, if you do not recycle what you've just realized is the correct thing to do, cosmetic cycle is not complete. So it's a waste of time. I've just said, I've said that before. So what are the questions? Sorry.
Well, people, we have so many questions, Hegrisson. I think you and Adriana will have to come back soon.
It's gonna be a pleasure.
Yes. Well, Cláudia Adele from São Paulo, she's asking, how does cosmoethics act? What are its laws?
Fiona?
What are
You
its
you
laws?
can
The
answer also.
cosmetics laws.
In a short answer, right? Uh, in our courses have
Yeah.
we help better to understand these laws, but you can make your own laws, your rules in your daily life that you are going to act uh, like consciential paradigm. Hegson gave us some examples, right? You told something, Ellie. If you know that you have to have health, yeah, and we have allosoma in our daily life, for example, we have to improve some rules that we're gonna make our body healthier, right? We have to do exercise, you have to eat healthily, it's good to sleep very well. And also, if you have an energetic body, you have to put some rules in your daily life so you can exercise your energetic body, your mental body, something like this. It's a very simple example, right? I
It's
don't know
our
if I can answer.
we should always take care of the things we that are really important for our evolution. It's our responsibility again. I think
Yeah,
it's very much related to responsibilities,
yeah,
everything.
Yes.
yes,
So in short, this is it. This would
In
be
short answer is this, but also it's more complex. But the most important thing, it's you start to reflect about what you think is important to you. If you know and you understand the consciential paradigm, and you have to improve to act like these pillars, right? When you are not acting, uh, thinking about the consciential paradigm, you are far from the cosmoethics.
I see that this reflection, this answer is very respectful to each one's evolutionary level
yeah.
because we are different. We have a different
Yes,
comprehension. We had different experiences. Very
exactly.
good. So I'm going to ask another question from Renan Temp. Renan is from Foz do Iguaçu. How can I be sure that my actions are cosmoethical?
If you take into consideration, take into account, right, these, right, motivations, these variables, you certainly be acting cosmoethically. For example, I think I've just given an example when I said that when you have a relation with a person, right, and you want to be in good terms with a person, be in peace with a person, right, and you want to avoid into prison, to be into prison with this person, right? Because if you do this, if you do something wrong to that person, you have to pay it any time in the future. There is no way out. So when you are aware of it, when we are aware of what we do has a consequence, right? We have to be very careful about things we do. So we normally see, right? We can see that Cosmo ethics has something to do with the consequential ethics, which is we have to think about the consequences of our actions. If we know that this what I'm doing now will have will be will have positive consequences. Okay, this is cosmoethics. If I know this will bring bad consequences, oh, this is not good. So I have to avoid it. So, for example, one of the pillars of the consensual paradigm is forcing. If we know that thinking badly of someone is not good, why do I keep doing it? So this is simple, right?
Yes, but sometimes people have different views and one totally different and person A thinks this is the right. Person B thinks no, this is not the right. That is the right. And so
That
it's a dilemma. It's a
yeah, you're
dilemma.
right.
We are living
Yeah,
in dilemmas every day. And
yeah.
that's the point. And there is a rule about for that.
That's a very good point, and then because uh, when we think about dilemmas, the point is when you know what your values, your evolutionary values, right? They are your cosmoethic principles. They are. Every time you have a dilemma, vai recorrer a, né? You refer to your evolutionary values and cosmoethic principles, and you see, well, if I take action number one, or if I take action number two, which one is along with my evolutionary values. When you do this, you see that one action is getting well along with one of your evolutionary values. So you do this, you take this course. That one has nothing to do with your evolutionary value. Oh, so I'm not going to do this. Do you understand?
Okay.
Adriana says something really interesting about eating broccoli, right? Broccoli or eating something healthy. I don't know. Something healthy, right? For example, broccoli
French
or
fries
sorry,
and broccoli.
broccoli is healthy, or potato chips, right? When you think about the kind of fat you have in potato chips, and you think about broccoli being healthy, and you think about your soma, and you think that your soma has to help you be how do you say completista in English, Eliane? A
Completist.
completista.
Complete,
You
yeah,
have to be
because it's
complete,
existential
right?
completism.
Yeah,
Completist.
you have
Completism
to be an
test.
essential completist. So you because you have a program, right? An essential program, and you want to get to the end of this life being successful. Then you come back to the food and think, well, my dilemma is: should I eat broccoli or should I eat this fatty, right? Potato chips. Then broccoli will certainly help me get along well so that I can get to the end of this life healthy. Do you understand the
Yeah,
idea?
Yes.
just to complete the idea, I think what we do is we start from simple dilemmas, so we improve how to reflect and how to think about this dilemma, considering some reference, so we can start to understand how I'm going to answer my self dilemma, if we can say like this. So we can do the same way, or we can reflect in that way in our complex dilemma, because when we have two people at the same paradigm, consensual paradigm, thinking completely different, we have a conflict, and we have a complex conflict, right? Because you, for example, you think one way or one answer is the right one. I think the right answer is another answer, right? Thinking
People,
in consensual paradigm. So there's something that can help us, right? Sometimes, most of the times, under that conflict is a fight for the power, and is a
Yeah,
egoic satisfaction, right? If you take this from your answer, your self answer, the conflict start to minimize, right?
you
So
start understanding the conflict. Very
yes,
good. And look, what we are talking about has is very connected with Rui Bueno's question. Okay, we are in our time, but can we stay some 10 minutes more? Is that
yeah,
okay for you? Can we stay
yeah.
just to close with this question from Hui Buen, because it has a lot of connection with what you're talking about. And Hui is asking how to understand the radical behavior regression in the face of pressure of polarizing holocene from the perspective of cosmoethic. So he's talking, I'm going to make a summary for you, but it would be how to understand radical behaviors that seems to be regression. Like we are in conscientiology, we have the same paradigm, but different
Yeah,
views, very different views. We have a conflict. And you were telling that it's very good answer that we should analyze if it's not related to power, to being stubborn, and that's all. How would what else could you add in this reflection on Rui's question?
that's
we,
a very good question.
we had an example, right? All the example in pandemic, right? if we are going to take the vaccine or not. It's a kind of regression behavior, I think. Even in consensual paradigm, we know some people that are against the vaccine, right? It's a dilemma, right? And it's a regression. Are you going to say something, Harrison? You
No,
can talk.
move on. You can go.
No, I think that even in this radical behavior, if we think about it, we have some power fight underneath. Even if this power fight is about knowledge, or you think I'm right and you are wrong, if you, I don't know, né, if you try to analyze the conscience, the way that she behaved, etc., I think there is some point is like this. And when we have this kind of fight, we are not reflecting, because I think we are reacting, emotional reaction.
Yeah,
It's true.
yeah.
Yeah, we
There
have
is some.
the emotion
Yeah,
taking
actually,
place in our behavior.
there is something really interesting here. Is that's why I'm showing you this. We do things based on remembering the pillars of the consensual paradigm, right? We now know that we lived different lives in the past. So certainly, right, what is influencing the person's way of thinking now, reasoning, is a lot influenced by what the person was in the past, his past lives, his hollow biography. Certainly, there is no way out. Because nowadays we see this. The majority of people are not, for example, they understand an idea, right? But a minority of people, even in consensuology, they are still in the past with their idea. Probably Adriana said something interesting, which is emotionally they are emotionally involved, or there is something to do with the power, right? I still want to keep power about this. I've seen people say, I'm a doctor, I'm a physician, so I have the right to know. No, nowadays, if you study, if you read, everyone has the right to know. There is no power just because the person is a
True.
physician, right? So I think this is really interesting and relevant. That's why we have to consider in Cosmoethics the pillars of the consensual paradigm. For example, you see, different lives is really important because we are not going to all of us agree. I think Valdo said that it's going to take us lots of different lives to understand conscientiology. It's not easy to understand conscientiology, and it's
No,
not
it's not
easy.
easy.
Yeah, and it's not easy to be cosmoethic all the time. No,
Yeah,
this is
and
an
put it into
exercise.
practice.
This is
It's
an exercise.
challenging.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is. It is. Well, my dear guests, dear friends, it's great to talk to you. I have just a comment from Ana Yogan. The word esquadrinhamento in English would be scanning. A
Oh, scanning
possible
could be. Yeah,
translation
thank
could
you.
be scanning. So, I let's we are going to finish for today. Unfortunately, our time is over. And I just want to thank you very much for your presence, for your ideas, your intelligence. Thank you so much, Hegrisson and Adriana. I am sure these ideas will help us to enlarge our comprehension about ourselves, about self knowledge, and what is evolution, that is very much related to cosmoethics. And I hope you can join us some other time. We are going to talk about that, and but feel more than invited, okay, for a next lecture. And I want to thank everyone who watched us. And if you still have questions, you can place on the comments, and we will answer them during the week. Okay.
Okay.
I invite you all to join us in our next live on April 3rd with instructor Renan Temp with the theme Existential Program Pillars. And also invite you to follow us on social media and subscribe to our channel. We meet again on April 3rd. Thank you so much for joining us today and happy evolutionary journey.